Good. So let's welcome again everybody because I was smart enough not to push the record button. So let's do that and be done with it.
We know what happened. I'm struggling with the audio. It's very, very bad. I'm losing 70% of what you're saying. But it's all right. Continue. I'm trying to figure it out how to listen better. Okay.
Sonia, do you hear me well?
I think so.
Okay. Roberta?
I can hear you.
Better.
Okay, good. So at least, having the recording there, you can still catch up with stuff. So the next thing we want to look for is once we have the language set up and we start the communication with your puppy, we want to make sure that we teach the puppy based on the breed and the size and the age. I know everybody wants to have a very obedient puppy and everybody wants to have a perfect puppy, but we have to understand that puppies have a learning curve. And there's more the repetition in safe environment that makes more impact than control. So if I have a problem with my puppy going after cables and stuff on the floor, I have to make sure that this environment is clean. The mother will never leave a puppy in a dangerous place where she has to watch different puppies. It's impossible. So she will clean her space, and the distance the puppies will be is in a safety sense where everybody can look at. So what I do when I work with puppies, the first thing I want to do, I want to teach them that stay in my side, stay in a safe area where you can always look at me and get information from me. And the easiest way to do is with treats in that case, because unfortunately we don't have that capacity as an animal to give all these scent information that puppies attracted to mother. I would use a treat in my hands, I would treat it between my fingers, and I would just offer the treat at a very low level. Let me give you an example. I don't know if you guys can see me here.
Coming back from work, either giving it to y'all or eating it.
There we go. So the first thing we're going to do is I just put my treat in between my fingers, and I put my hand down, and the dog comes up. Meaning his hands down means come to me. And I don't even tell him anything. The only thing I do, I put my hands down, and I get him to come. From that perspective, things look easy because, like, okay, you give him treats and he comes to get the treats. But what does it mean? It means that my dog start looking at my body language and start receiving signals. Hand down equals he has something in my hand that I want. So we start creating a relationship. And relationship as an authority relationship that I, who have shown you trust, and you get information from me, you get food, you get safety, you get shelter, I have something for you. And now we have a deal. Every time you see my hands down, that's for you. So come and get it. And what I get is a free will action. The dog will come on his own free will to get what he deserves. Now that mindset, I come on my own free will to get what I deserve, I call that come. Easy, right? So the classical dog training says, pull on the leash, and when the dog comes to you, you reward him. And I say, why do I push my dog to do something he really doesn't want? How about rewarding him for something he really wants from his own mind, and that I would give it a name. So the next thing we're going to choose here is let me learn from the dog what he would like to do. And here's another example. I have that I offer, and the first thing he shows me, let me show you that better, table. I have these treats he cannot get, and I'm asking the question, what do you do for it? Good. So he's offering it down. Well, that I will call at some point down. Because on his own free will, he decided to go down and he gets a treat for that. If I can predict that my dog gives me certain offers, first he comes to me and he sits with his patience, because dog sitting equals I show you patience. I want that you have, but I don't invade your space. I show you respect for what you own, and I sit here waiting for you whenever you're ready, and you release it, I'll take it. This is natural dog knowledge. Dogs have that in their DNA. You don't need to teach them that. The dogs naturally will sit because it's kind of a wait position. And that I will call sit. And the next thing the dog want to do is being in a longer down state, because he waits for you to be done with it, which obviously from his perspective will take longer. So why standing and sitting? I can lay down and wait for you whenever you're done. That patience I will call down. So in that concept, I start creating that language and just name things that my dog does on his own free will, but I have to trigger that. I have to give him the option to choose that particular thing that I would like to name, and I get it, and then I name it. And then my dog does things on his own. Let me show you. He has to go on his bed on his own. Good. Because he knows from the bed, let me show you that again. There's a Barnaby. Good. He knows that only there he will get his treats. When it's food time, he goes on his own there because he waits for his food. And what about T-Bone? You want to go to your bed? All the way. Good. So the approach is not with pressure and power and forcing the dog into a dispute situation when he has to do something he really doesn't like, but is forced to because the choke collar goes up, or because he was pressured to do it. We give him the dog a chance to come in from his own free will. Now, who am I to tell him all this? From my perspective, I'm his owner, but the dog doesn't care about that. What he wants is information. What he wants is safety. In order to follow me and in order to trust me, he wants to feel the safety and security that we only give to somebody who we call authority. So when we are children, we believe in authority to our parents. If somebody comes up and says, you have to go to bed, and you're like, who are you to tell me what to do? You're not my mom, right? Well, how about your stepmom? Ooh, oh yeah, right, we have a stepmom as well. Well, you know, I trust my mom, but I don't trust my stepmom. Until that stepmom steps up to her power and says, you know, I provide you the safety, I always care for you. And what she gets in exchange is, from our perspective, the belief of authority. She's authority. When I have a problem, I go to her, she tells me whatever is right. If I need help, she comes and helps me. It's not because I'm scared. That is not authority, that's tyranny. I live in fear and scare and all the time make sure I'm not making anything wrong because I get punished. So from that perspective, what we want to do is we want to go to the next level and say, wait a minute, how do I establish my relationship with my dog as an authority? Where my dog comes up and trusts me with any problem he has. And in order to prove that, I come up with an exercise which looks very simple, but it gives the dogs a breakthrough that I can solve problems he cannot. And nobody else in his environment can solve such a complex problem. And the exercise I call the go-to exercise. What I usually do is I use 2 treats, okay, 2 simple treats, and then I show them in front of his nose, which is the trigger, and then I open up the hands in my both angle about 3 feet apart. Now, it looks simple, but from a dog's perspective, that's an unsolvable problem. Because he wants both. They smell both good. He knows exactly where they are. He smells like 200 times better than I do. And well, if he takes this one, he will lose that. And if he takes this one, he will lose this. Well, that's a problem. Now, how do I solve that? Telling him no? Telling him take both? That doesn't solve. But I can prove to him that if he reaches out to me as an authority, he will get both. He wouldn't expect it. So let me show you how that works. Who's the volunteer?
That's not your stand, though.
Good. There we go. Okay, so I go down to this level. I open these streets, and then I open up my hands. And then I get this clear message here. He's talking to me. Good. He gets both treats at the same time. Let me do that again from a different angle. Now you can look over my back. I hope you guys can see that. Yep. I open these two treats, open up my hands. You see how I can look at myself, straighten my eyes, and he doesn't want those treats because he knows taking in with the authority, he gets both at the same time. Why doing the effort and looking to the hands and not looking at me at the same time? He gets more. Now, why do dogs go after the hand? The reason why is because they believe these hands are individuals. And I want you guys to kind of open up your mind a little bit and check from the dog's perspective. How do dogs touch things? They touch things with their mouth, right? Everything they have to move or touch or lift, they do it with their mouth. How do we move things? We move this with our hands. So from a dog's perspective, we have kind of mouths attached to our body. So I have my mouth, and then I have two other mouths in addition. So I have basically three mouths. That's weird, right? And because those hands are near my head usually, it looks like I'm an individual. So these hands are individual beings that eventually talk to me, and they reply to me. Well, that's the dog's perspective. Now I want to make the dogs clear that these two guys are connected through me. Because they function individually, they're still connected to me with a magical connection. And once the dog makes that assumption, he will recognize that why going after your hand if everything comes through you? Looks for my hands. And you will see if the dog wants something from your hand, he will stare at your hands like, hey hand, offer the treat that you have in your hand. Give it to me, it's mine, I deserve it. And you're like, here, dude, you can talk to my hand, but you have to talk to me to get it. Does it make sense? Roberta?
Yes.
Steve? So I just want to make sure that we're coming with a conclusion as humans that dogs think like humans. They don't. And sometimes we have to give them a clear message what they exactly want and how the real world looks like. Because for dogs, everything works with the mouth. So therefore, this must be mouths. And that's why most people get bit by their hands. And that's why most dogs bite each other in their mouth. Because that's the only way to correct. You correct the mouth. Therefore, they bite our hands. Now, children who are face to face, it's kind of different because you see most children walk on their legs, right? And they walk on their hands because they don't walk really good. And so the dog gets that picture as a child that walks with all 4 feet. He must be kind of my kind. Therefore, I'm not biting his hands, I'm biting his face. Because that's what dogs do, right? They mark their face. And you see most dogs are biting their face first before to the other rest of the body. That's how we control and slap kind of on the fingers, slapping on their face. So a dog who attacks a child on their face is not more aggressive than a dog who bites a person on his leg, on his hand. It's basically the same concept. So we have to be very careful. If we have children or small children that plays with the puppies, that we recognize this. These two guys grow up together like litter mates, up to the point that one child will stand up on his 2 legs and the dog gets like, what happened now? He changed. He will still go after the face. And he will not go after the hands. Unless he's being proven that his hands are worse and more dangerous than his face, which usually happens with children because children go to the puppy's mouth and take socks away. Or they go in there and start fighting with their hands. So basically, children fight with their extension mouths with the puppies. So we teach the puppy that go after the hands because the hand is how you manipulate and how you control things. So When I see children roughhousing with puppies, I'm basically raise my red flag and says, guys, no, don't let children roughhouse with puppies. Don't let children reprimand puppies. It's not their job. It's a parenting job. So if I want to teach my puppy, he shouldn't take this or that. He shouldn't be there in the first place. He shouldn't have that opportunity to go grab in socks. So that's mother's job or daddy's job. Make sure that sock is not on the floor. And these toys that are dangerous to the puppy should not be on the floor. And I understand that some people do not have that space in their house to have a separate room from the puppy and a separate room for the baby, because we want the baby in the living room. That's fine. But we have to be aware that dogs don't understand that. Because from a dog's language, from a dog's knowledge, whatever is on the floor is free to claim. It's kind of like seeing a car with keys hanging in the driver's seat with no license plate, and it says outside Maserati. And you're like, whose car is this? Whoever comes first takes it, right? And guess how many people will run towards the car and how aggressive they will get to get in the car. And the only reason for the car is being owned is as soon as the license plate is on, because then somebody owns it. The same thing with dogs. They see something on the floor, you can take it. Why not? Nature tells us for 50,000 years, whenever you find on the floor, you get it. That's scavenging. So dogs are opportunists, scavenging predators. So I cannot recommend my puppy for picking up on the floor, but I can teach him that I own that space. So I have to show him that I'm basically territorial about my space. So if I put you on my space and you want something, check in with me first, and then we decide if it's yours or not. I am the space, therefore I own it. And that comes with the authority perspective. If the puppy understands that you're the authority and you're the mother, he perceives and gives him information, he believes that you own the whole space. That's his natural instinct. So if you adopt a puppy and you don't establish your authority first, you will struggle with that in the first place, because your puppy will basically try to own as much as it can because of his nature to scavenging and nature to be, opportunist. He will grab the thing on the table if he doesn't understand that he's being owned by somebody else. So it's very important that we still don't reprimand the puppy, but we give him the understanding that he has to understand the authority first, create an authority relationship, and then understand that that space is already claimed by this authority. Therefore, if I need something, I have to ask the authority. So you see that working between dogs with each other, because one dog will claim the space, and if the other dog wants to grab something from it, the first thing you will see is the lip lifting. And you're like, oh, my dog is aggressive. No, he sent that guy a very clear message. Don't touch this, it's mine. And the puppy backs off. And some dogs do not have that knowledge because nobody taught him that to that point. Because some people who breed dogs don't teach the puppies this language. They think puppies should not bite, puppies should do being clean in the crate, and that's pretty much it. But there's a lack of knowledge and information, there's lack of social skills that are missing from the first piece, which you have to take over and teach your puppy. You don't care what everybody else did before that. You as a parent are responsible to teach the puppy from zero. You assume nothing, you teach everything up to the point where the puppy grows into your family. Do you guys have any questions so far?
No here.
Okay. Steve?
Yes, I'm here.
Any questions so far?
Not yet.
Okay, you want to add something?
Well, tell you, I like Facebook Live better. This quality of audio is not very good.
Can you speak up a little bit, Steve? Steve, can you speak up a little bit?
I said the audio quality is not very good.
Okay, let me see if I can fix anything on that. Give me a second.
Sounds like you're in a barrel.
Yeah, that happened. I'm losing 80% of the time.
Okay. I hope I use this one. Should be one of the best in the market. Maybe it's my bandwidth. Let me see if I can put it here better.
Well, yeah, say something.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, a little
Kind
bit.
of better. Got a little bit, yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
a little bit.
Okay.
Better now?
Much better.
Perfect. We fixed the problem.
Well, we'll see.
Better now?
As you talk, we'll see.
Okay, good. So it was a point that wasn't activated. Now we got it. Okay, then. So the next part, once we establish that authority and we teach the puppy the information that he needs, and I don't want to go down the road to explain to you how you teach your puppy sit, stay, and all this stuff. That's kind of common sense. But I want you to focus on who are you to tell your puppy what to do? What's your energy? And how you feel about it. So if you're angry, upset, frustrated about your job and your daily life, don't work with your puppy at that state. Try to calm down, try to center yourself, and then work with your puppy. Because the puppy should learn how you feel like when you're balanced, when you're calm. Because if you teach your puppy that you're always stressed, that you're always fearful, what you create basically is a puppy that believes that you're so stressed and so scared of everything that he has to protect you. Does it make sense? So we send the puppy a message that you have to protect your parent. So we put the puppy into a parenting position to parent us instead of we the puppy. And without knowing, we create a puppy, and especially dogs who are more into the protection mode, to become more protective than we ever wished for. So we have to be very, very careful of how we communicate with our puppy. It's not just the language, it's not just the body language, it's also how we feel about it and how we smell about it. So stress, anger, frustration, wrong body language, all this is information the puppy learns. So the next thing we want to look for is try to tap into the puppy's mind. And I want to share with you a few things here. So I'm using here my big guy, T-Bone. So the first thing we want to watch is the body language in this case. Good. So we have an alignment which is nose, head, back, and tail. Come over here. Come a little closer. Good. Okay. So the mind is control, the neck and the body. But the tail indicates how the dog thinks. Because the dog tail gives me a symbol of how the mind is set. And we know when the tail is up, the dog is confident, and when the tail is between the legs, the dog is scared. So it's not just fear, it's just the mindset, I am in a fear position, and I'm afraid. My mind is afraid, so every decision that I make is based on how my tail feels like. So if I'm confident and my tail is up, you, Steve, you know about this Great Pyrenees, they're very confident dogs, and the first thing you see is, whoop, the tail is up. And then you see the terriers, the first thing you see, whoop, the tail is up, right? So you want to watch that because that exactly indicates how my dogs feel like. Let me adjust the camera a little bit. So here we go. So you have the tail. Then you have the alignment of the body. So imagine I'm talking to you guys right now and my body is completely aligned with you, right? And now what happens if I turn my body and I'm talking in the other direction, you know exactly I'm not talking to you, I'm talking there to, you know, in the corner. So my body is my intention. So again, I have my tail who shows the mindset, then my body language and my head shows my intention. So when my dog looks at my treat, his intention is to get it from my head. But if his head turns to me, his intention is to me. But his body language can still be towards the treat. So the body wants the treat, my mind wants me. Does it make sense? So I have a dog who has basically two different options. His body wants the treat and his head wants me. How do I align these two guys to bring it in one mindset? I have to reposition myself and help my dog align itself, having the mind and the body aligned to me. Does it make sense?
Mm.
So if my dog is crooked and he comes in a fear state and is all wind up and tense, I will not reward him for that. I try to get him out of that mindset because that's what his body language tells me. That's what his mindset tells me. The way he approaches me comes in from an angle, that's already a problem. I want him to be confident. And you see some people out there who come in and is like, hey, how are you doing? You're fine, everything is good? But that feels weird. Instead of somebody comes in and says, hey guy, how are you doing? You're fine? And you're like, that feels different. So that is also the message you send to your dog. So either you're confident or you're scared. Or basically you're afraid. That's a body language that gives your dog a clear message. So you have to teach him from very early as a puppy what different body languages mean. If a person comes in and with his hand like, puppy, that's not aggressive. That's kind of like, that's how we feel like when we want to hug people. And we hug people, we don't confine them. So if I hug you on the neck, it's not because I want to kill you, it's because that's how we express our love. And these puppies do not have this plug and play. You have to teach them that. On the other hand, if you get a dog adopted as a puppy and he ends up in a foster home, or he ends up with a person who doesn't know these languages, and he comes over and hugs the puppy, and all of a sudden he has a bite on his face, and they don't know what happened. Well, it happened that the puppy had no clue that this one is not about killing, that's a hug. So as a trainer, for example, Steve, and I miss your name because it's only the number showing up here, you want to make sure that you make the people clear. Dogs have to learn your habits. Don't assume anything. Even if it's a small puppy, you have to teach him step by step what each thing means. Don't assume anything. It's very important for that part. So any questions so far?
Nope.
I'm good.
Good?
Yes.
Tonya, any questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Is the microphone better now?
It got really loud on my end when you changed.
Better loud than sorry. Hadasha?
I'm good here.
Okay, awesome. Good. So let's go down the road. Let's talk a little bit about emotions and trauma, because we want to focus at when we remove the puppy from their parents, the first thing we have here, we have a separation trauma. Because the puppy is one day together and everything is fine and cozy, and on the next day what you know is about you being in a crate in a strange house, surrounded by strangers and weird noises, and you have no freaking clue what's going on, especially it smells weird, like it doesn't smell home. So what do we do here? That's a trauma that kicks in, and we have to be very aware of that, because that trauma is being imprinted in the dog's body memory. It's a very traumatic experience to be removed from your siblings, removed from a knowledge, your comfort place. Well, it shouldn't happen again. So what do you do for it? Maybe the reason why I lost my home, I wasn't good enough. Maybe I wasn't hard playing enough. Maybe I wasn't barking enough. And whatever the puppy thinks was the reason why he lost his house will express in his new home. So when we're talking about the compression time, it happens also when puppies come in from adoption. These puppies have to have a decompression time, try to figure out how the system works. The good thing is with dogs is they don't get stuck too much in the past. They live in the present, and when they come in a new environment, they try to establish themselves and find the job that fits best. So we have dog traits or breed traits. English Mastiff will behave like an English Mastiff because that's what they're bred for. A Great Pyrenees will behave like a Great Pyrenees because that's what we're bred for. And a Dachshund or Chihuahua will breed the way we're bred for. So we have the breed traits. However, we have, besides the breed traits, we have an individual dog who has his own experience, his own trauma, and he has his own personality. Now, how do we get that settling? Because not all English Mastiffs are brown, and not English Mastiffs have the same weight, and not all Great Pyrenees have only white color, and not only Chihuahua have the same barking. So each dog is individual. So from my perspective as a holistic approach, I see that dogs are individuals, and they have also spiritual traits. What?
I said it right, spiritual traits. So we have individual breed traits, we have individual dog traits, and we have spiritual traits. So the individual dog traits, and I'm not getting along there, I guys sent you a link as a gift from me to read more about that. There we have different traits for each individual dog, how he behaves in conform with his breed. So a dog, for example, has hard time connecting with his environment. Or what about a dog who has hard time with changes? The same breed. How about we call dogs stubborn? How about this is called persistence? So we have breeds who are more persistent and breeds who are less persistent. We call them stubborn. So, you know, we have some breeds we call like, oh, you have a bulldog? Oh, yeah, we know that. Oh, well, you have an English Mastiff? Oh, yeah, okay, I got you that. Stubbornness, number one. You ask him to sit and you get nothing. But at the same time, the stubbornness and all these individual traits is what we bred into the dog. And then we have varieties. So beside the body's memory and beside the breed that it looks like, you have these individual breed traits, plus minus, they're more on the green side or more into the yellow side. We want to match it up. And then you have dogs who have medical issues. This is in a different category. So when you get a puppy the first time, you want to evaluate that as the first thing before you even start training. What kind of trait does my individual breed have? Can I take advantage of it? Is something that I need to work a little bit harder? Something do I have to remove? How about a dog being so mouthy because he's so stressed? Is it a trait? Is it a breed trait? Or is it an individual trait I have to work on? And what if, I say if, I have, coming from a spiritual perspective, I have a teacher, I have a healer, or I have a just a companion. And where it is coming in is if we want dogs who come in the hospital and have this calming energy, everybody's touching them and like, oh, I'm in heaven, I just touched this dog, and oh, it feels so cozy. That is not a breed. That's a spiritual trait of a dog. I can bring any dog with that spiritual trait. You hold that dog, you fall asleep because you feel this calmness coming out of that dog. So this is a healer that has the ability to take that energy, calm you down, and give you an energy in exchange. So you have all of a sudden an energy exchange. It's not about the breed. It's not about the individual dog. It's about the spiritual aspect of that dog that helps you calm down. And then you have a dog who is a teacher. We know those guys. You guys who go to the shelter, you deal with these guys a lot because these guys are so strict with their environment. They see wrong and right, and they see good behavior and bad behavior. And if you misbehave, you get a dog bite. And these guys end in the shelter. So 80% of the dogs who end up in the shelter are usually teachers because they have a very strict way to look at things that usually are very hard for us to accept. And they have a certain reason for that. There's no dog who does something for no reason. So these guys who see a very particular reason that they don't match their agenda, they go after you, they attack you, they bark you, they send you a lesson, and these are called teachers. And then you have the companions. You have seen these guys. The companions are people, they're matching very perfect with very old people, families, and you see these dogs, they're just so easygoing. He's a perfect, he doesn't bark, he just eats, he poops, and that's it. That's all his life, is just being nice to everyone. And you're like, wow, that dog is cool. I want that dog. I get the same breed. It's not the breed, it's the individual dog. So we have three categories. We have a healer, we have a teacher, we have a companion. That can be any breed. It could be a pit bull, it could be a Chihuahua, it could be a Great Dane, it could be an English Mastiff. So don't get stuck with a breed because you saw a dog that's perfect. That kind of is either a healer or most likely a companion, that perfect dog you see. The rest you don't see because they're weird. And the weirdness is because they don't accept if you tell them to do something, if you're not authority, if you're not have rights to tell him what to do. So if you want to talk to a teacher, you have to know your stuff. If you want to train a dog who is a teacher, you have to be very precise, good in your timing and understanding his dog language because he talks to you. And if you don't get that message, he's like, whatever, yeah, I got you. And you know what, if you touch me again, I'm going to bite your face off. yeah, I know stuff. So don't come with me, ask, sit, and stay, because I don't trust you. You're kind of unstable here. You try things you don't know about. And that's a challenge, especially for dog trainers. And I've been down that road. And I'm not talking here because I'm smart, because I have $16,000 of bite wounds. Pieces are missing everywhere. I learned it the hard way. So I want to kind of cut your way here and kind of see that from a different angle. Step away of dogs are animals. Come into the space, dogs are individual beings, emotional beings that have a sole reason for being here. Not only just a reason to, poop and eat and make a mess and keep homes and bark everywhere. And then I want to see the spiritual aspect. Why do I have that particular dog? Why do I adopt that puppy? Why did this puppy choose me at the same place? Because these puppies, we called ourselves in. We choose that puppy for a reason. So why do I choose that puppy? What's the trait that I need help with? Because sometimes we use a puppy because we need a companion. We want to be a better parent, so we kind of like grab into the puppy thing or kind of like become the parent. Try to learn responsibility, try to learn, get my anger under control. Okay, he just peed on my carpet. Okay, let's get the cleaning supplies. I will not scream, I will not yell, damn it. Okay, but it's also an exercise. So these guys have a reason for us being there. And if I'm a trainer and I come into a house and I see a dog misbehaving, the first question I ask, what dynamic do we have here? What is the dog facing? Is the dog being hurt? What kind of dog is he? Is he a teacher, healer, or companion? What's the problem here? So if I see a teacher and I see a passive-aggressive owner, ouch, okay, I have to take very careful of that, because that dog could definitely bite that owner, 60%. And so in this category, we have also subcategories. Kind of to make an example, I can have a teacher, okay? That's kind of the worst guys, from my perspective, to work with. And then you have a teacher healer, or you have a teacher companion. Or you can have a healer teacher, or a healer healer, or a healer companion. And now you have basically 9 types of dogs that you can identify. A teacher healer may challenge you, may bark at you, may push you in a corner, but he will most likely not bite you to a pain level. He will snap at you. A teacher will basically bite you to the bone to send you a clear message why you didn't learn it the 3rd time. A companion will most likely back off and be gone under the table just to be away from the problem, because he doesn't want to deal with this crap. So now all of a sudden you see, instead of correcting a bad behavior, recognizing where the dog is coming from, you can trace the line and find out the reason why he's doing it, and it ends up in the owner. As usual, we say that all the time. But why? What's the message here? Why is this relationship? Why am I called in here to fix the dog if the problem is the owner? Why am I'm called in here to teach the owner how to train the puppy to be potty trained if he doesn't have a clue what persistence and what timing costs? My puppy has to go out every 2 hours. Is he aware of that? No. Why not? He is not aware that puppies have needs. Well, let's get him down the road and explain to him the puppies have needs and need every 2 hours to go outside, 1 hour per month. So the 2-month-old puppy needs every 2 hours to get out, kind of, plus minus. Smaller dogs must be more often. And removing the water from his food bowl doesn't mean you have less pee. You have kidney failure, right? Just because your puppy pees because you're too lazy to get him out every 2 hours doesn't mean you have to remove the puppy water at 7 o'clock because you don't want to go to the bathroom 10 o'clock. So we have to be aware of that as well. So we have to be very clear. The stage of the puppy, the emotional state of the puppy, the breed trait, the emotional trait, and the soul trait when I start working with my puppy. So when I have clients who call me and tell me, hey, I want to adopt a puppy, the first thing I ask him, what does your life look like the next 5 years from now? I'm like, I want my puppy now. I'm like, I understand that. But what does your life look like 5 years from now? Do you want to have kids? What's your lifestyle? Do you want to party? Do you want to run outside? That's kind of puppy you need. You need an energy-full puppy. You need a good companion who doesn't bark when you have your babies in your house. And so all of a sudden you can choose the puppy, go in the shelter and pick the puppy you want based on these scales and based on these traits. Not just because he's sitting in the corner doing nothing. It doesn't mean absolutely nothing. A dog who sits in the corner and is scared doesn't tell me anything other than he's scared. It doesn't tell me about the breed traits. It doesn't tell me about his personal traits. And even he comes and jumps up on me, he wants only to get out. So don't be fooled of that. Back to puppy training. Puppy training is establishing your relationship, create a bond, create a calmness, create a safe environment so the puppy trusts you. Because if you take the puppy outside when he's 7 months old, going into the second fear phase, and he doesn't trust you that you will take care of his safety on his walk outside, you will basically create a barking, pulling, reactive monster that you will not be able to control, especially if he weighs 150 pounds like when he gets to 7 months old. My English Mastiffs, Bull Mastiffs, Napolitan Mastiffs, you know, the big guys. The small guys are very easily to be trained. The first thing you teach them, you don't respect your space. They just pick you up, cuddle you, shake you everybody can pet you and touch you. Nobody respects your time. Hear about everybody biting and everybody barking at, and all of a sudden, oh, well, he's just a small baby. You know, he loves you anyway. It's not. We have to be very careful of that because a small dog is still a dog. It doesn't matter the size. He needs respect. He needs to have consent. You cannot just pick up a small dog because he's handy. And you cannot pick up a big dog because it's unhandy and it's too heavy. You cannot reach out to a dog's crate without getting a consent. So 90% of all the dogs who end up in a shelter for bite injuries, for barking, pulling, all these dogs have one thing in common. Things happen without consent. Without consent, he was put his leash on. Without consent, he was pushed in the crate. Without consent, he was reached out. And all these events happened because the dog had no consent of what happened to him. And whose fault is this? The authority, because the authority wasn't able to control it. The authority was not able to protect him from these big hands coming in the house that he didn't know about yesterday because it's just guys come in as a party game. Oh, we have a new puppy, come touch him. We have to socialize our puppy. We are socializing, abusing a puppy if we don't come from a perspective of consent. Does it make sense? Any questions so far?
No, not for me.
Okay, so it's 5 o'clock, and I know you guys will have questions. That's what I'm here for. Good. We have 1 hour questions, and maybe one question will lead to another answer, kind of expand a little bit. So I'll pause it here for a little bit.